Once upon a time, in a small coastal village nestled between rugged cliffs and the endless sea, there lived an old lighthouse keeper named Elias. For decades, Elias had faithfully tended to the lighthouse, guiding ships safely through treacherous waters. His life was simple, yet fulfilling. He found joy in the rhythmic crash of waves, the salty breeze, and the occasional visit from villagers who brought him supplies and stories from the outside world. Though he lived alone, Elias never felt lonely. The lighthouse was his companion, its steady beam a symbol of his purpose. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Elias noticed something unusual. Far out at sea, a shimmering light appeared. It danced on the water, flickering like a distant flame. Intrigued, he peered through his telescope. The light seemed to grow brighter, almost beckoning him. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, a radiant, golden glow that promised something extraordinary. His heart quickened, and a strange longing stirred within him. For the first time in years, Elias felt a thrill of excitement, a yearning for something more. For days, Elias couldn't shake the image of that light. It consumed his thoughts. He began to dream of it, imagining it was a sign of untold riches, a hidden paradise, or perhaps even a divine calling. The villagers, noticing his distraction, warned him. "Elias, the sea is full of illusions," they said. "What you saw was likely a mirage, a trick of the light. Don't chase it." But Elias, once steadfast and wise, had become captivated. The more he thought about the light, the more he convinced himself it was real. He began to neglect his duties at the lighthouse, spending hours staring out at the horizon, waiting for the light to reappear. Ships passing by grew uneasy, their captains shouting up to him, "Elias, where is your guidance?" "The waters are dangerous." Guilt gnawed at him, but the pull of the light was stronger. It whispered to him in his dreams, promising answers to questions he didn't even know he had. One stormy night, the light returned. It glowed brighter than ever, cutting through the darkness like a beacon of hope. Elias, unable to resist, made a fateful decision. He left the lighthouse, untied his small rowboat, and set out into the raging sea, determined to reach the source of the light. His heart pounded with a mix of fear and exhilaration. The storm roared around him, but he pressed on, driven by the promise of the golden glow. The waves were merciless, tossing his boat like a leaf in the wind. Rain lashed his face, and the wind howled in his ears. Yet Elias pressed on, driven by the promise of the golden glow. Hours passed, and exhaustion began to set in. His arms ached, his vision blurred, and doubt crept into his mind. "What am I doing?" he thought, his chest tightening with panic. But every time he thought of turning back, the light seemed to grow brighter, urging him forward. It felt so close now, so real. He could almost touch it. Finally, as dawn broke, the storm subsided. The sea grew calm, and the light vanished. Elias, now miles from shore, realized the truth. The light had been nothing more than a mirage, a cruel trick of nature. He had chased an illusion, abandoning his duty and risking his life for nothing. A wave of despair crashed over him, heavier than any storm. Tears streamed down his face as he clutched the sides of his boat, his body trembling with exhaustion and regret. "What have I done?" he whispered to the empty sea. Defeated and heartbroken, Elias turned his boat toward home. The journey back was long and arduous, but it gave him time to reflect. He thought about the lighthouse, the ships that relied on him, and the villagers who had warned him. He thought about the life he had built, the quiet joy he had taken for granted. Shame burned in his chest, but so did a glimmer of hope. He realized that his true purpose had always been right in front of him, steady and unchanging, like the lighthouse he had left behind. When Elias finally returned to the village, he was greeted with relief and concern. The villagers, though disappointed in his recklessness, welcomed him back with open arms. "We were worried about you," they said, their voices filled with warmth. Elias felt a lump in his throat as he looked at their faces. He had let them down, yet they still cared for him. Overwhelmed with gratitude, he vowed never to chase illusions again. From that day on, Elias returned to his duties with renewed dedication. He tended to the lighthouse with even greater care, his heart filled with a deep sense of purpose. The memory of the Mirage still lingered, but it no longer held power over him. Instead, it served as a reminder of the dangers of losing oneself in pursuit of the unknown. Years later, as Elias sat by the lighthouse, watching the sun set over the sea, he shared his story with a young boy who had come to visit. "Remember," Elias said, his voice steady and wise, "the greatest treasures in life are often the ones we already have. Never chase illusions, for they will lead you astray. Instead, cherish what is real, and you will find true fulfillment." The boy nodded, his eyes wide with understanding. As Elias gazed out at the horizon, now calm and serene, he felt a profound sense of peace. The sea, once a source of temptation, had become a mirror of his own journey, a reminder that true happiness lies not in chasing distant dreams, but in embracing the beauty of the present. And so, the old lighthouse keeper's tale became a lesson for generations to come, a story of loss, redemption, and the enduring power of what is real.